Hello everyone, my name is Amber. Welcome back to my channel, Amber Reads Bromance. Today I'm back with a weekly wrap up. I'm probably posting this like a day or two later than I usually do because I did have a vlog that was tied to a challenge that I needed to post on Monday when I usually post this. So this may be a little bit delayed. Sorry about that. But I have, I think, mostly historical romance to go over because we had that historical romance readathon going on this last week. So hopefully you are interested in some historicals. I love them. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started on my weekly reads. Okay guys, so just a behind the scenes thing here. I had a little bit of an issue. I was already late getting this filmed after our buddy live show that we did, and I didn't do a lot of prep, so I didn't write all my notes on each book. And my phone died in the middle of filming half this video already, so I basically had to charge my phone, and now it's kind of dark now at the time that I'm trying to film this. So the lighting, the camera angle may be a little off. I don't know, but I need to get this filmed. So I apologize. I don't know if I'm just going to quickly go through the things that I already went through, but I need to refilm it. It's just my day kind of went sideways for me. So I do apologize. But I am going to be looking over to the side a little bit because I didn't write all my notes I usually do because the day got away from me. So I'm looking at my spreadsheet. So I may be looking to this side, just so you know. So I may be kind of all over the place with this video. But let's get started with it. Okay, so the first book that I read was an ARC, and this was Stolen Chances by Clio Evans. This is the second book in the Citrus Cove series, and Broken Beginnings was the first book, and it was like kind of like a small town romantic suspense. I really enjoyed Broken Beginnings, but Stolen Chances, you really need to read Broken Beginnings before you read that, because the heroine in this book has a lot of fallout. She's very affected by like the suspense and stuff that goes on in the first book. I don't want to totally say what happened because that'll give that away. But I will say, if you haven't read Broken Beginnings, I would definitely read that first. Because she is really impacted by the things that like her husband did and stuff like that. She is no longer with her husband. This is Sarah, I believe. Let me pull over to their names real quick. I believe it's Sarah. Yes. So Sarah is split from her husband for reasons. Things went crazy in the first book. I honestly forgot the suspense and like what happened from that first book. So I kind of had to go back and look at my review because I completely forgot. But her life has been really tough. She works really hard. She's got twin sons that are a little bit older, and they're all dealing with the impact of what happened with her husband and his family. And so some of the town hates her, some blame her. So she does kind of have some really shady bullying situations going on. Her kids are feeling the effect of that at school. So she's got a lot on her plate. And that's going to come into play with, we will have a stalker situation because this does have a romantic suspense element in this one as well. And in the beginning, it starts off with her wedding to her loser husband. And Colt was kind of a guy that she had been in love with when they were younger. They mutually pined after each other. They didn't have anything happen, but things kind of fell apart for reasons. And he basically shows up before her wedding begging her not to get married this guy. And she basically blows him off. It's like, it's a little too late. You never stepped up. You never came to me after our falling out, and it's over. And so obviously things don't go great for her with this husband. And Colt has been pining after her for years. He's been in love with her forever. And so he's kind of waiting for the perfect time to kind of try and pursue her since she's been through hell and back. Colt is openly, bisexual. He actually came out as bi to his dad's, and his dad kicked him out as a teen. So he actually moved in with his best friend and his family. So they were kind of like a found family for him. And then Sammy is actually his best friend's little brother, and he is like kind of like a TikTok kind of sexy like chef type of personality, and he is kind of crushing on Colt a little bit. He's never realized, like, he's never been really fully into guys, so he didn't realize it, but he is kind of crushing on Colt. But it's his brother's best friend, so he's never really gone there. And then he starts to have some interactions with Sarah and really start to like her and want to date her. But that's really uncomfortable because Colt is also his friend, and he knows Colt's been into her forever. And they kind of even get into it at one point, but Sammy is really into Colt, and he's really into Sarah, and he thinks, like, why can't we all just date each other? Because she is interested in both of us. Sammy's interested in Colt, and he doesn't know that Colt's kind of looked at him that way too, but it's just been taboo because he's his best friend's little brother. So Sammy is more of the kinky one too. He's into BDSM, and so he'll bring that aspect into their relationship. So they basically decide to try and date each other, and I really loved the poly relationship in this. It is an MMF. And I really loved it because they all had like individual relationships with each other. Like Sarah and Colt, they have this kind of almost second chance situation going on. And they're really reconnecting and being together. And you have Sarah with Sammy, and it's like that new love type of feeling. And then you also have Colt and Sammy having a relationship and getting to explore each other that way. And you have them all sharing each other. And let me tell you, the spice was next level in this book. I gave this 5 chilies. It was spicy as all get out. Like, it is spicy. I really enjoyed this. I love the poly, the open communication, and how they're exploring that dynamic was really well done. I just wasn't fully into the suspense element because she does have a stalker. So they're both like sharing, keeping her safe and all of that. And it just was okay to me. Like, I wasn't fully into that whole side, like that plot, but I was really into this dynamic and relationship. So I ended up giving this one 4 stars. And again, 5 chilies. I'm trying to track some of the more spicy things on my spreadsheet here. So some of the stuff we have in here, we have a DVP, DP, impact play, bondage, breeding, sharing, and some spicy times too. So there was a lot in this, and it was definitely very spicy and a good time. So I would recommend it. I would just say make sure you read the first one so you're not totally confused on the whole suspense and the past of this heroine. Okay, so I think most of the rest of the stuff is mostly going to be historical. There are some other ones in here, but the next book that I read was The Bride by Julie Garwood. I've had this on my TBR forever. I am going to be having a vlog coming out with 2 new to me authors that I did read for this readathon. I am trying to do more historical romance this year, and I do want to do more vlogs about historical romance authors and new to me authors. So that's going to be kind of like my goal this year. So this was a new to me author. This is set in medieval. I think it's like the 1100s. And it's a Scottish Highlander type of romance. And in this, we have Alec Kincaid and Jamie. And Jamie is a British, heroine. And her father is kind of a mess. So he's not her biological father. Her mother was pregnant when she married him. And so she is actually the youngest out of the daughters. But she's treated like the oldest and kind of like an outsider because she really takes on a lot of like keeping track of the father, getting things done, making sure everything's running smoothly. And her father really uses her. So it's almost like an appreciated, almost Cinderella vibes. It's kind of crazy but she just thinks it's like normal. And so she just, takes care of things. Her father basically didn't pay the full taxes to the king. And so the king's like, you're going to have to offer up 2 of your daughters to marry these Scottish lairds. And so he tries to hide Jamie because she runs his household. and does everything for him. But there's this really sweet, like, I don't know if he was a groomsman, something. He was like an older man that was like kind of a father figure to Jamie. And he basically wants her to live a better life. And he knows that the father just uses her. So he tells Kincaid about Jamie. And so he ends up picking Jamie. And so her and one of her sisters end up getting married to him and his other man. And they go to Scotland. And they kind of get it on already on the road, like to Scotland. Like he kind of pushes it. But I didn't think it was, I don't know, I didn't mind it. Some people did. A lot of people had problems with like the misogyny and how he told her place and would kind of belittle her. But it is the medieval time. Like women didn't have a say. Like you were the wife and you ran the house and you did what your husband told you to. So I think it reflected the time perfectly. And so it didn't bother me. There is a suspense kind of mystery going on because his wife had died, his previous wife. People thought like he killed her, but really like supposedly she had killed herself. But we also get another POV from like the villain. And they're like basically had killed the wife. And now they're going after Jamie as the new wife. So that is the only problem I had, was the reveal of who this villain was, and kind of that third act, you know, suspense element kind of came out of nowhere with the resolution of it. I thought it was kind of weird, but I really loved this book with like the banter. Like it was funny. It was just very comical. There was just funny little moments. They had amazing chemistry. And so I just really had a good time with it. I just didn't love that villain part. But honestly, it was a great book. So I ended up giving this one 4.5 stars just because of that ending thing that was weird. And I think I gave it 3 chilies. Okay, so then the next one that I read was actually a novella, and this was Some Winter's Evening by Erin Langston. If you know, I love Erin Langston so much. She's a new author. She doesn't have that many books yet, but I've loved every single one of her books. Forever Your Rogue was a 6-star read. It was my top 5 reads from 2024. And this is actually tied to that because this is Gavin's romance, and Gavin is Cora's brother. So Cora's brother, Gavin, he is a lawyer, and he's very like devoted to his job. He's a workaholic. There's some really amazing conversations between him and Nate, where Nate's trying to get him to like, you know, live a life, kind of have some fun, fall in love, you know, meet somebody. And he's just very steadfast into moving up, you know, where he wants to go with his career. And so he's actually kind of stuck at this inn. This is set around the holidays, and the weather, he's like kind of stuck there, and he kind of runs into this stranger, and she is a governess, and she's on her way to her next job. She's kind of just been randomly let go and put in a really bad position, but she finally found a new one. And so she's on her way to that position, and she ends up at this inn for the night. And she's there kind of late, and they don't have any more food left. And so he had some and he wasn't eating it. So she went to go like offer him money so she could have that food. And he thought she was like propositioning him. And so it was a very crazy meet cute. They start off on the wrong foot. She dumps ale over his head, but they get past it, and they end up spending like the night hanging out together, dancing, having a good time. Gavin's trying to like let loose. She's not telling him like who she really is, like her job and stuff, because she just wants to have a good time. They even like kiss and stuff, and she really wants to go there, but he's a gentleman and he feels really bad about that, so he stops things. So they kind of don't see each other again until he goes to go stay with his sister for the holidays. He's going to stay there for, a few weeks, and he discovers she's their governess for their kids. So in this, it was great because we get to see Cora and Nate and their kids and their whole family dynamic. And I just love them so much. They're so amazing. And it was just very sweet. Gavin is just such a sweet hero. At first, the heroine doesn't want anything like them to go back there because she doesn't want to lose her job. But they can't stay away from each other. There's some really good spicy times. They're just very sweet. I can just say Erin Langston writes romantic historicals that I feel like is missing now. And I just love it so much because there's so much longing, angsty, like the sexual tension, like she just builds it. And this is only a novella, and she packs a punch in this novella where it's a full story. I feel like I know every one of the characters. She just gives you so much in such a short amount of page count. So I'm so impressed with her. I love her so much. She's one of my favorite new authors. So, of course, I gave this 5 stars. It was so adorable. I loved it. I think I gave it like 2.5 chilies. Okay, so then I actually read the pick for the Rake Appreciation Society book club. One of them, at least. I still need to read the other one. But this was The Silent Duke by Jess Michaels. And this was a no-go for me. I really did not like this book. This is between Ewan and Charlotte. And Ewan is a mute hero. He was really badly abused by his father and ridiculed and emotionally abused because he was a mute. His uncle took him in to kind of give him a better life. His father didn't even want him to be like his heir and his duke and stuff just because he was mute, even though he's very intelligent and amazing. And he was friends with Charlotte as they were kids. They kind of even made up their own, like, almost like basically like sign language that only they knew. But like they were friends forever. And he is the typical hero where thinks he's too damaged and he can't be with the heroine. Because at one point she actually kind of tried to pursue him and let him know, but he turned her down, which was really horrible for her. And she ended up getting married. Her husband passed away and she's now out of mourning. And she's actually going to go to this house party at his place. She gets there before all the other guests and they aren't able to make it because they can't get past the bridge due to like the bad weather. And so she is alone with him. So she actually decides this is her time. She's going to try and make a move. And she decides that the way to make him want to be with her is to try seducing him. So I didn't really love that. She came off very like manipulative. And she really pushes hard for it. But what I didn't like was there was sex like immediately in this book. Like you didn't have any building of their relationship, showing how they're very connected, any flashbacks or anything really, except for the beginning part. And I just didn't really feel their connection at all. And they were instantly banging. And then he was a virgin hero. And this really bugs me. Like when the virgin hero is immediately like a sex god and getting her off better than she's ever gotten off and all of that. Like I would have liked it better if she was like helping him explore sexuality and that. But I mean, I feel like they might have been having sex from like 20% on. It might have been sooner, but it was like the whole book was all smut. And I just don't love that in my historical romance. I want what like Erin Langston does, and the longing and the slight touches and the angst of like wanting to be with somebody. I want that slow burn. And this was not that. But the other reason I didn't like it, and it may be a spoiler for you, so if you don't want to know, you can skip to the next book. But I didn't like the heroine because when she did the thing that the heroine that I hated in the first Bridgerton book did, and that was like when they're having sex, like she won't let him withdraw. She's like trying to keep him in so that he would come in her so that she could have a chance of having a baby, and then he would basically be forced to be with her. He did not want to get married, and he did not want to have kids because he was afraid he would pass like his condition onto his children. And so she was taking that choice from him, and it pissed me off. So from that point on, and I think that was like around 45% or something, like I fucking hated her. I really should DNF this, but I listened to an audiobook, so I tried to push through. And the audiobook was bad. Like the narrator was horrible. She was very over dramatic. And then there was like this like third act suspense element that just was stupid and over the top. And so I just didn't like anything about this. This is the first time I've ever read Jess Michaels. So I don't know if she's usually like that or if it's all smut usually. I might give her another chance, but this was just really bad to me. So I ended up giving this one 1.5 stars, and you know, it wasn't great. So okay, so then I read The Rogue of Fifth Avenue by Joanna Shupe. I read the most recent series she had, I don't think I have it down. I think I moved it. But anyways, I read the most recent series that she had released, and I've never gone into her backlist further. And so I really wanted to read this one, and I freaking loved it. This is between Frank Tripp and Mamie. And Frank Tripp is a self-made man. He actually came from like the slum type of lower income, but he's hidden that past because he's a lawyer to like the rich and powerful. And so he's really hidden like his roots and everything, but he has been drawn to Mamie. She is actually the daughter of one of his clients, and she just gets herself into some trouble, and he happens to see her at this gaming hall one night, and he sees her like steal from like one of the rich guys and stuff. And so he's like, what the hell is she up to? And so he's kind of trying to keep an eye on her and make sure she doesn't get into worse trouble. And he basically, like, I just love Mamie's character. She's feisty. She's fiery. She is set and, she's had this engagement arranged forever with her family. And she doesn't really want to get married. She isn't really into the guy. She also is likes her freedom. And she's been actually kind of like basically stealing from rich people to help the women of the poorer class. She goes out to the neighborhood and she helps women. And in this, we basically have one of those women kills her husband in self-defense. He's an abusive husband. And she basically goes to Frank to represent her and try and get her, off. And so they basically work together on this because she won't hear anything of it. She's going to help him. And, they're kind of fighting against like kind of the corruption and all of that kind of stuff. Her father is seeing her being way too connected to Frank and like saying, hell no, you are marrying this guy and you're not even going to be close to this Frank loser. And so he's very much getting involved. I just really love this. Frank was like willing to like risk it all for her. And she was so strong and independent. And they just had great chemistry. Like she really wanted to experience like sexual, stuff before she got married. She didn't even really want to marry that guy, but her and Frank were just amazing together. So I really loved this. This was 5 stars. I think I gave it like 3 chilies. And I just love Joanna Shupe. And the audiobook was fantastic. So I had a great time with that one. Okay, so then I read Icebound. This was a very short novella. This was for another vlog that is coming out. This is the one that is going to be coming out on Monday that I'm posting this a little bit later for. But this is by Tiffany Roberts. I love that duo, and this was been on my Kindle forever, so that's why I read it. And it was really cute. And it was pretty great for like a 40-page novella. This is between Anna, and I'm probably going to say this guy's name wrong. Neladrim, I think that's how you say his name. But Anna has been basically living in this like self-imposed exile type of like life where she's living in this cabin in the middle of the woods. It's very like cold climates. And she's been dealing with grief and loss because her husband and baby like had died like 5 years ago, and she just carries a lot of guilt and issues with that. So she's been living like alone in this climate, suffering basically. And she happens to see this stranger approaching out in a bad snowstorm, and he needs a place to stay. So she does let him stay with her, and they're kind of stuck together with the snowstorm. And he's a little different and special, and she's really feeling things for him for the first time in forever. And so it's just a very short, quick, sweet novella, but it dealt with like grief, loss, like big emotions, and tackled some stuff within that 40 pages. So I was really impressed. So I ended up giving that one 4 stars. I don't even really rate chilies. Maybe it's like 1.5 chilies, 1 chili. It's not too spicy. It's not really any of that, but it was very sweet and I enjoyed it. Okay, and the last book that I read was Stranded in the Snow by Noelle Adams. This is my first Noelle Adams, even though I've really read her as Claire Kent. I've read a lot more Claire Kents. And so I had this one on my Kindle and I wanted to give it a shot. It is a novella, and it was basically like enemies to lovers stranded, obviously, in snow. So we have Scott and Olivia has hated Scott forever. Their fathers had like a feud going on, so that made things worse between their families. But like Scott has actually been pining after Olivia since they were kids, but she has no clue. So her family has like this kind of like holiday vacation spot type of thing, and they have different cabins, and he has to go do the cabin for like a bride's picture she wants to set up or whatever, and so he needs to see it beforehand. So she has to take him out there to the cabin, and of course a big snowstorm happens. They kind of their car gets stuck, and they end up stuck at the cabin for a couple days. So the power goes out, they're kind of stuck together. They're forced to kind of actually talk things out and get to the issues between them. And the thing was that Scott was very shy as a kid, and he really liked her, and he would get tongue-tied and not really be able to talk to her. She thought he didn't really like her. And then like one summer he comes like all of a sudden is like super attractive and kind of a dick, and he becomes like, she feels like a womanizer. And so she just really never really liked him. And then obviously the stuff with the family feud happened. And so she just really had a lot of like issues with him, and they really talk things out once they're stuck together, and they are vulnerable with each other, and he reveals things about like why he did that. And so they end up, you know, getting together, having this great emotional connection. And so what I loved about this was it was a novella, but it was a well-rounded story. It had great character development and growth. You have a really good arc within like a short amount of pages. And I really think Claire Kent or Noelle Adams is really good at that. Like she can tell like a full story in such a short amount. And so, I mean, this one isn't super short. It's like, I think 140 pages or something. So it's a novella, but I really loved it. I thought it was very sweet. I really want to read the rest of the series, but I don't think it's on Kindle Unlimited. So I got this on one of those free ebook days. But I really liked it. I thought it was really sweet, endearing. I liked the conversations, working through their issues and really discovering each other was special. So I actually gave this 5 stars. And, because I think it's really hard to get a good novella that is that well done and well written. So I gave this 5 stars, and then I think 2.5 chilies. So those are all the books that I read. I am still in the middle of trying to finish 2 historical romances for this readathon today. And then I'm kind of in the middle of another one. So I'm bouncing between multiple books right now. So it wasn't that heavy of a week. Honestly, work was fucking crazy this week. And it's going to be crazy this upcoming week again. So hopefully I'll get some good books read. But thank you so much for watching this. I am sorry. It's probably a mess. And I don't know how this video is going to turn out, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and leave me a like, comment on the video, and I will see you guys on the next one.